are going to be going live to talk to you about all things artificial intelligence. And today, the conversation is around you really don't want to get left behind. And we are encouraging all of you to consider investing in our book, Noise to Navigation. It is available on Amazon and the NAR bookstore. So grab a copy. And you know what, Mina? Which chapter should we talk about first?
Let's start in the beginning. Like we should check.
Well, you sound far away, just so you know. I don't know if your mic disappeared, but I can hear you. But I want to make sure everybody else can hear you.
Okay. You can you hear me at all?
I can hear you, but you don't sound like you're on the mic. So I'm giving you a second. So while Mina's
About
going
now.
to keep,
Is that
there
better?
you go. Is that better? Yeah, now
Oh
turn
yeah.
it up. Okay, I think we're good. I can hear you. So you can hear me now. So for those of you that are watching, you could be on Facebook. You could be on Facebook, a business page. You could be on YouTube. You might even be on LinkedIn. I was lucky enough to have my twin sister join me because she took time off to chat with all of you today. So the goal is where are my notes, Mina? Is not getting
I
left
can
behind.
resend them back to you if you can't find them.
I got them. I got my notes. I found them. I found my notes. So here's what's interesting about having the conversation around artificial intelligence. I could I can honestly say that if we were to look back at November 2022, there's no way I would have thought we'd have been here. AI has been around for a long time since the 40s, although we don't have to go there. So here's what I thought I would do, Mina, is in our book, Noise to Navigation, the first chapter, the title is Finding Power in the Push and Pause.
Yes.
Give me a different title
Okay.
so people get it.
You know, even after reviewing and rereading the book, because it's always nice to just go back and revisit it, I realized that I probably could have named it the Goldilocks effect, meaning, you have it's either too hot, too cold, or just right. Meaning, we get caught up in the noise of if you're like that innovator person or an early adopter, you just run with it and you go fast and you push hard and then you realize that you made some mistakes along the way. But the truth is we need those people because they will figure out all the mistakes for us first. And you found those people all over YouTube with AI. And then you have the people that go way too slow. And the visual I like is if you and a friend are like walking down the road or you have a journey and let's say you're in elementary school and then where are you today? Meaning, you already went through your 20s, 30s, and 40s and this person kept up with the latest trends with technology. They jumped into generative AI, but you were like, no, that's for them over there. I don't need to do it. So you are on a different path and you kind of go off, and then you're thinking, oh, I probably should figure this out, but it feels too late. That is what happened with Google. It happened with a lot of companies like, what's that one company I'm thinking?
Montgomery Ward.
Pardon me?
Montgomery Ward.
And even Blockbuster. Like they were like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go online on the web. Or Montgomery Ward was like, they were so focused on cleaning up their act inside, like let me fold these clothes and not be customer friendly. They got left behind. So the just right is how do you go slow enough to think about what you're doing, to look at generative AI and play with it every day or at least once a week and integrate it into the work that you're doing now. Most companies, now I don't know about anybody else's companies, even in education, at least at the teacher and administration level, are asking people to get comfortable with the platforms, whatever that platform is. For me, I love ChatGPT and Gemini because if you don't, there's an expectation that you can not necessarily just produce but get better and stop worrying about the things that are slowing you down. Like it's still going to think with you, and it's that just right of how do I get ChatGPT to still use my voice, like get in my head, or me put the context into ChatGPT and then do the work with me and not for me, because kids that are going to college now, there are universities that are integrating it into their normal classwork. So if they leave college and start a job, they're already going to be way ahead. So that's kind of like the Goldilocks effects. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right. Or, the bed is not too soft, not too hard. It's just right for you. And let me be clear, just right for you.
So let me ask you this question. Where do most people make the mistake of either jumping too fast or hesitating too long with new technology? Because we could even go with the smartphones. Because I know people that they buy the newest iPhone every single year. But then I also know that there are people that still have phones that are so old that the apps aren't being updated. So when we think about this question, where do most people make the mistake of either jumping too fast or hesitating too long with new technology? Because you will be left behind.
So I mean, that's a good question. And I like to think about education. Education is usually 10 years behind in everything.
Ooh, that's scary.
Ooh, right? Now, there are many districts that have more resources, so they tend to get in front of things and they have time to think and process. But just because there's more resources doesn't mean you don't have people that can sit in a room and talk and discuss and take action. One of the cycles of influence that I'd like to think about is PDSA, PDSA, plan, do, study, act. So you plan something, then you do something about it. You study it. You kind of like, let me think about, is this working for us? And then you act on what's working for you. And we tend to sit in the planning mode. So the people that get left behind can sit in, let's plan to meet about the meeting, about the meeting, about that meeting that we need to meet about. And then you have the right.
That's for the meeting.
Yeah, we need a meeting for the meeting to meet about the meeting. And then there are people that forget the meeting. You have a group of people, and I like to use the word parallel play. For those of you in education, little kids, you ever see a group of kids and they're at the park and you got the one kid playing with the trucks and the one kid playing in the sand, and the parents are like, oh, look, they have friends, they're playing together. No, they're not. We call that parallel play, meaning you can get a group of people in the room and they all had a plan, and then they all left and did what they all wanted to do on their own separately. Parallel play. Like they're not doing the thing together. And that's what ChatGPT can do with you. And then you have to study, like, is this working? Is this the right way? Are we going to create a policy or procedures or a guide so it works for our industry, and then act on it and then keep doing the cycle, the thing? And we don't do it that way. I almost wish I put that context in the book too. I know, the next series, because we don't think about what we're doing. We either plan everything, we either go too fast, and then there's noise and we have to go back and fix the thing. But we do need people like that, because then if we have those people, they can go and research and study, like, yeah, that wasn't a good idea, but they come back and they own it without pointing fingers. There are organizations that if somebody does something wrong, they punish them for it instead of saying, okay, so what can we do to get better? What can we do differently so it can enhance the work that we're doing? And then you act on it, and then you repeat, and you keep doing that and doing that and doing that. There are a few companies out there that have done that. They still exist today.
So,
Nordstrom, for example, and Netflix to me is still new because Netflix is the one who probably put Blockbuster out of, like, they put them out of business. Borders is out of business, but Barnes and Noble figured out that Amazon is not just books, it's everything. But Barnes and Noble, not only are they still in business and you can get your books in a few days, 2 days, but you can also publish on there too, just like you can self-publish on Amazon. And it's just
you mean Borders? You can? I mean
no,
Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble.
Okay,
Sorry.
so table that for now, because
Yeah. But the point is
talk
that people
offline, 'cause I
are,
don't know.
but there are businesses out there that are figuring out how to not get left behind. I mean,
Okay, so let's go on
IBM,
to the next conversation,
right?
because we want to, first of all, for those of you that are just joining, take a second, text a friend, text a realtor friend, text someone in education, text someone that needs to have the conversation around not getting left behind in the world of artificial intelligence. So here's a question that I can also answer. What do you think some industries, education, real estate, business, keep repeating? Why do you think they keep repeating the same mistakes when new tech arrives? So let me go first, and then I want you to answer the same question. I
Okay.
can tell you in the world of real estate, I have been in the industry now since 1997. So I got licensed in 2001, and I hear the stories because we used to have these things called books for all of our listings. I know my association executive used to drive the books to all of the real estate offices back in the 90s, so we knew what the new listings were. Then when I came, we had all our listings were put into a multiple listing service that was available to us on a computer. And then you had the World Wide Web that had multiple listing. We had our listings in the multiple listing service. You had
Right.
fax. Then you had listings that could be found on other websites. For example, like today, Realtor.com. Most of the other stuff is our competition, so we'll leave it at that. And so there are real estate agents that have been in the industry over 50 years, and they don't use the tech the same, or they wait to use the tech, and then they wonder why the next generation is faster and they're moving a whole lot faster. So why do I think we keep repeating the same mistakes is because we wait to learn the new technology.
Yeah.
I would literally taught a class last week, and I could say about 30% of the room had never logged into an AI tool like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot. They had never logged in. And then when I looked at the room, now this is me guessing because I'm over the age of a half a century. So in that case, I was clear that most of us were around my age, maybe a little bit younger, but I am pretty sure that there wasn't that 20-year-old in my class. Why? Because they don't wait to learn. They go on YouTube, they go on TikTok. They're learning from TikTok. That's where they're learning. So I believe in the real estate space, we keep repeating the same mistakes because we wait to launch, especially when it comes to who's teaching us the information. It has to get approved. If there's an approval for the approval, there's too many people in the room in the conversation. Where the next generation, they're just putting out the information. And what do you call this, Nina, for the 5-year-old? What is this?
For the 5, what do you mean, like the parallel play?
What is this? Look at it.
I'm
Are you
looking
not
at.
looking at the screen? It's an appendage. Okay, let me help you.
Oh, I didn't. You know what?
So
I couldn't see what you were putting
because you
next.
weren't, I'm clear you weren't on the same screen when I
No,
did this.
actually, this is what I saw. I didn't
I
see
know
the
because
phone.
when I had put it up to the screen the first time, you didn't see me do that. So
No. No, you're right about that, but you were right next. There's 2 screens here. I'm looking at you and me.
makes sense. So with that being said, now what do you think? You earlier you just said that education is what, 10 years behind?
Always.
So why do you think they keep repeating the same mistakes when it comes to not moving? Let me go back to my question so you can see it. Why do you think some industries, specifically education, keep repeating the same mistakes when new tech arrives? First of all, they're probably not even using it. They're probably not even practitioners.
There's a lot of factors, variables that might be out of some like educational institutions' control. Like in Illinois, for example, each school district may have their own association and union. They have a classified employee union. In Illinois, we had a credentialed teachers association union. Then you have administrators and superintendents. Like in Chicago, the superintendent of Chicago, it's my understanding, well, the board in Chicago is appointed by the mayor. So if the board is appointed by the mayor, that's a big picture variable. Like so they go with what the mayor wants. So if generative AI is not a conversation, the board hires the superintendent, and the all of the board is appointed. Most boards are voted in many places. But here, if they're appointed, you kind of go with what the ideas and thoughts and the list of to-dos that your mayor wants, for example. So those variables are there. Then you have to create policy that is board approved. Now it's different with maybe teachers using ChatGPT. So OpenAI, for example, and probably most of the platforms are like, you need to be 13 years or older. You also have to get permission if children are using it from parents. So you can't just say, hey, use this. It's kind of like if I wanted to show a movie in the classroom, even if it was rated G, you still had to get parent approval. PG, definitely PG 13. Like, so you have to get like permission from parents to say, hey, can my child do this? It's like if you want to use that appendage, the phone, you have to get approval. So you have to go through these steps. So the question is will you go through those steps? And if you go through those steps, you know it's going to take time. Or are you going to set it aside and wait? Because remember, I talked about this. Are you going to wait for the innovators and the early adopters to do it first and then go grab their policy and say, here, this is what this school district's policy is. We want to use this policy, but we'll change it for our language because now somebody else did the work for you. So it could take a while. I mean, that's part of it. There's also people that are like, I mean, right now, all over the world, there are educators. You have your real estate agents that are veteran and you have the new ones, and people that come in out of college now are going to be like, what do you mean they're not using generative AI? What do you mean they don't have access to the classroom? I want them to go do the research on generative AI. I don't want them going to Google. It's so much faster on ChatGPT. It's normal. We've normalized using Google. We've normalized it, but now we have to normalize using generative AI. And if we don't, there are children that are going to use it anyway without having a guide. And they're going to get left behind, like Montgomery Ward and Borders and all those other organizations. And children are going to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, and they're going to not know how to navigate. They are going to have the noise, and they're going to have to be retaught how to use, I'll just use the phrase prompt engineering properly, because they're going to be so used to just uploading their assignment. That's going to be their prompt. Write this paper for me. And there are professors, even though there really isn't a way for them to say, hey, was this written by ChatGPT? We all know because it has phrases that we don't typically use. It might outline it in a certain way. In conclusion, like really, no one really does that anymore. And it'll have dashes that a lot of English teachers may teach it, but those dashes, the long, short, medium dashes, there's a term for it. And people don't know what that is. So if you start to see that, you're like, I didn't teach you that in English. So why are you using that dash? And professors are actually, you can see it on YouTube, like they're mad at their students instead of saying, okay, so I know you probably use ChatGPT. So what would it look like if it was your language? So that's a lot of variables, but
So let me ask this question. Is AI going to reshape everything you do? And you could be anyone. And by the way, for those of you that are watching live, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or even LinkedIn, because I can see all three, feel free to type your questions. If you type them on YouTube and or Facebook, they will pop up here. We are in a tool called Restream. So we want to answer your questions when we have the conversation around AI. So Mina, is AI going to reshape everything you do?
yes.
There you go.
It is, oh my gosh. If you think about, first of all, it is exponential. The way we used to learn things is you go to school, you go in kindergarten, you learn your alphabet, and then you learn the sounds, and then you learn words. And typically students or children used to go to school and the teacher taught them how to read. And then as people got older, they were a little bit different. Like my first child was my, prototype. I didn't know any better.
My prototype, he's real smart though, because he used to read encyclopedias on his own.
Right. So their children want more. They have access to knowledge. It's at their fingertips, and we give it to them by handing them a phone. So they have, when you hear terms like you can't hold your attention more than 2 seconds, longer than a goldfish, they can't. So teachers who teach the way they normally have, those students are wondering why they're doing things and they're annoying you to death, is because they're bored, because they can pick up stuff so fast. It is so exponentially fast that they can go once they learn that they can talk directly into ChatGPT, because in Japan in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, there were kids, 3-year-olds, talking to ChatGPT and asking it questions like, is Pokemon real? And then it would talk back. So you don't even need to know how to type anymore to get have a conversation. So if we don't guide children, that's part of it. Like, and let's just go to, we'll pass K-12 and college. We said this at the beginning. Jobs are going to expect you to know how to do this, and there are people who are losing their jobs because if you know how to use ChatGPT, you are more efficient, and you can ask harder and more difficult questions and create different tasks and prompts, and it will create for you, or at least tell you how to create it. Where you are using, I'm not saying people aren't creative and wouldn't even come up with this, but you can push it to say, yeah, but I was thinking I would like to do this, and give me 5 different ways this could look, whatever that is, a graph, a chart. And I really wanted to use a line graph, and I can't figure out how to do it in Excel, but I need it to be my work. What would that look like? I'm telling you. And not only that, if you use Gemini, it goes straight into the Google platform. Like, you can download a sheet, you can download a doc, you can create a presentation, and it's already there for you. And you can do the same with Copilot. From Microsoft, it'll do all the things and go right into Excel. And we're missing that. There is a connection now. And if you use Outlook, Copilot, it just sits there and helps you with your email. I think we're doing I think that we can get real like, hey, is AI changing
Who
our
said it? Who asked the
overall?
question?
Oh my gosh, Yolanda, hey Yolanda, is AI changing our overall learning styles? Ooh, that's a good question. I think only if you let it, and I would argue that you almost want to let it challenge your learning style. Because in education, some of our learning styles might be like, I'm very kinesthetic. I like to get up, move around, talk, and I like to talk to people. There are some people, and I love to read a book. Like, I can sit and read a novel or an informational book, but sometimes I'm like, I got to put it down. So it depends on what you want to learn and how you want to learn it. I think I really love that question, Yolanda. Like, and it's okay to change your learning style. Or let's just say this: what about if it just adds a new learning style? What if it enhances your thinking? Like, keep your actual learning style, keep it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, being early and learning isn't about being first, like I tagged below. I would say, when Yolanda asked the question, is AI going to change how we learn? We could go with the example of when we both saw the same TikTok where a teacher said that a student said and I'm just going to say it just like this teacher, there's going to be the dumb AI user and the smart AI user. And this was, I mean, if I'm sure, I'm wondering if I shared it to my stories over on TikTok. And a kid said this to the teacher. And just like you said earlier, the point is that there are going to be people that use AI as students and as adults to do all the work. And then there are going to be students and adults, business owners, to use it to think. So, for example, my example would be real life.
Yeah.
Is that every Friday when I go live, even if I miss a Friday, I use Evernote. I sit on my Mac and I've come up with the title. And I may have come up with the title on a Monday, but I haven't written out my concept. I always start with a story, real life story. And then I come up with, and I start asking you questions on my live. And then I bullet point what I'm going to talk about. And then I have my follow up and I share from that. How can I use that with AI? I then
Can you enhance you right now? Just, because
Oh, I'm sorry.
only because I feel like people should really get this point.
So then what I can do is I can go take my talk. So first of all, when I go live, I have my Evernote that I wrote. Then I'm live on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm recording in Zoom. When I'm done with all of that, I may have said something on Zoom because it's transcribing. And then I've already had my Evernote. I can take all of that information and put it into ChatGPT because I have a project. And in that project, I take my Coffee with Carrie notes, my Zoom transcript, and I can say write a blog post based on my notes and my transcript. And I can and then I can take my live talk that I recorded on Zoom and I can add it to a podcast. I can have my YouTube notes, and then because I've been going live so long, I actually took everything that I wrote. I'm the author, and I put it into ChatGPT for a 52-week workbook, and I'll call it a workbook where real estate agents can see what I talked about, and then they can actually, it'll help them think for people that get stuck. So, do I think it's going to change our overall learning? Yes. That is how I've been using it to help me think better and faster. And I'll give my other one, Mina, unless you have one. When I ride my bike, and because I'm the person that when I don't feel like working out, I'm getting on my bike. So I can ride for an hour and flatland, so it's probably easier than going in California. I put on my meta glasses, and then I open up Evernote, and I can talk to myself for an hour as opposed to listening to music, because I don't have to listen to music unless I'm really stuck, right? Then I need Janet Jackson and Who Rules the World, right? Motivation, different. So why do I tell you this? Because it has helped me learn and work faster, but it's still coming from me. So I would definitely say, do I think the learning is different?
Yeah, and I like this
Here's
next.
another question from Yolanda, Mina.
Okay, so let me read it, and thank you for the question. I was just processing it, and you used to want to determine how we learn tactile, kinesthetic, visual, and is that now obsolete? It only becomes obsolete if we let it. It depends again on the learning. Visually, a lot of us are visual learners. It could actually depend on what you're learning. Like if it's something I need to put together, uh, very rarely do I want to open up the instructions, because whoever writes these instructions on like how to put a cabinet together or some dresser, oh my gosh, it's like, who wrote this and what the number? Sometimes you're just like, I don't want to read that. So I just want to somebody show me a video. So sometimes you go to YouTube, somebody already put it together and they talk to you and visually you can see it. That's what's wonderful about YouTube. What's also great about ChatGPT or Gemini or whichever one you choose is you could take a picture of those instructions and say, hey, I don't get this, tell me about it. And then you could read it in order. It depends on what the learning is and how people want to receive that learning, because like kinesthetic, you might need
No,
to
kinetic.
learn.
She wrote kinetic. What is that?
Well, kinetic, I'm going to go with, it was kinesthetic, but kinetic is like kinetic energy, like, and it's very similar. It's very similar in the words. That's why I just went with kinesthetic, because kinetic energy would be doing something and moving forward. Like, in other words, you have motion. So that's what I was thinking. And it's like, if you want to learn a new like exercise routine, you can, if you watch it, that's visual. But in order to learn it, you might need to do it. Like in high school, if you wanted to learn a new cheer routine or a dance routine, or if you were a swimmer, you need to watch someone, but then you actually have to do it. So it depends on the learning. But that was a good question. Oh, no,
So,
it doesn't matter if let that go, Yolanda. I mean, the reason why is because the first three, the prefix, meant the same thing. So you had it right. It actually was a good word to use.
So, she said I misspelled it. Here, let me go back to this.
No, you
So
were fine.
I do here. So I like what Mina said around. Is that now obsolete? I am someone that, depending on my day, now I've got notes here and they're pretty organized. But let's just say I am doing a brainstorming session with you, Yolanda. We meet in person, and I take those giant Post-it notes and put them on the wall. And I have circles and I have squares, and we're brainstorming everything out. Here's how I think people could leverage tools like ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you decide to use. And I literally took a photo of our retreat, and we had a retreat with our top producers. And then they were pushed back on me and like, Carrie, we haven't talked about you. How do you help the company grow. So I literally wrote everything down, and then I came up with different options. And because it was visual, even though it was the written word, we took everything I wrote, threw it into ChatGPT to come out with an organized format. So you could, for those of you that like to create a vision board or a mood board, you could draw it out with your crayons, because I got crayons over there, and I could literally upload it. So do I think that the how we learn is going to go away? No, I just think it'll help you do it better and actual and faster. So for those of you that are just joining us, what questions do you have? Type them in the feed, type them on Facebook, because we're going to see them. We're using a tool called Restream. So Mina, we can talk about some of our takeaways while people are thinking about if they want to answer questions. Again, take a second, make sure that if you haven't invested in the book, help us out, because the current, where's my QR code? It's going back up because it's on the NAR website, and we want to make sure that the price points are the same. But when we first launched it, we gave you the $4.99 price. It's still that today, but by the end of the week, it'll be back at the $9.99. So we just want to make sure if you grab 2 copies, you can help us get to 100 sold. Thank you.
And then give us a review, and it reads well. And thank you to our mother who helped us edit and read. Me sending her the book, like, hey, I know you edit, so edit this. But it does read well. It doesn't matter what chapter you start on. I recommend chapter 2 and 3, because that is where you can learn the prompt engineering formula in a way that's easy to follow. But you can read it from cover to cover, and it still works. Or no matter what chapter you read at any time, you still get something from it.
So what are some of your takeaways, Nina?
My takeaways would be based on chapter 1, because that's what we're focused on. It is, if you are an innovator and you're the one who jumps right into everything, you either buy the latest tech, you do the latest thing, you jump on the newest trend, it's okay. But learn from your mistakes quickly, so that you don't get to a point where you're always in the mess and the noise. And then for those of you that are really slow to adopt anything, try not to get left behind. Take some time. I recommend at least once a day, 10 minutes a day, and use some type of generative AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, one of them, even if it's in Canva, and play with it. But try to use it from a perspective that's from your perspective, your tone, your context. And if you ever watch Carrie's video or my video, think of prompts that are from your industry, because I tend to talk a lot about science. If I'm talking to teachers, I tend to talk about analytics. But if you want to do that same thing, just find your own data. So, and then kind of the Goldilocks effect, not too hot, not too cold, like just right. Take some time to where you are practicing for you, because we've been using it since 2022. That's been 3 years. And if you think, you will feel like you're left behind just because we talk about it as if we've been doing it for a long time, because we have. It's okay to start somewhere. It's kind of like the first time Carrie was like, you need to go live, Mina. I felt like I was a robot and I looked like it looked, ooh, but you have to start somewhere. And once you start, you get better and better and better.
So Mark is my assistant over here, and I asked him to open my box. So you take them out of the box, and then get rid of the box. So I did see the question. Yolanda asked the question. So where do we buy your book? You can get it from Amazon. You can also get it from NAR's bookstore. Thank you for NAR for putting us in the bookstore. Hey Suzanne, how you doing? Mark, you're not even selling it. Give me. So Mark he's over here helping me out. So I like what you said earlier, Mina. Every tech wave has winners and losers, and the losers almost always waited too long.
Yeah, they do.
So listen, I used to work for Sears Roebuck & Company.
Oh my gosh, them too. I'm so sad. JCPenney figured it out. They made, you walk into JCPenney and you feel like, oh, what? Like it feels nice, and you're welcoming. Even if some of you are like, I wouldn't buy this clothes, you walk in there and you're like, they did a better job and they have better brands. I'm gonna give JCPenney some kudos right now.
So
They
before we end, because I have a couple more things I can share about my takeaways. If you have questions, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, even LinkedIn, because I have LinkedIn open. Let's see. Um, again, some of my takeaways are the power, of the push and the pause. Try, pause to think, test, push to test. Let's see. What else do I have? Early adopters aren't reckless. They're learners in motion. I am an early adopter. I'll be quick. Now, I might not move first of all, you might not think I'm moving as fast. I just don't post it as fast. Like right now, some of you know I used to edit television for a living, but I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, I need to show you that I've been using the animation functions in Sora, that I've been using Hedra, that I have been using OpenArt.ai. Mina, you understood Midjourney faster than me. So, and my youngest is using the animation in Adobe. I pay for it. So I'm coming back, and even Jonathan was like, "Are you sure you used to edit television for a living?" I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "Why do you call me?" I'm like, "Because I haven't been using the Adobe tools, so I need to, so I call him just to kind of
because you can forget.
right? Because I used to
Practice.
edit on an Avid. I used to use QuickTime. I used to use After Effects, and that's when it was hard. Now, again, like I could literally show you. I can first of all, Meta.ai. You could upload your own image, and it'll make you, a music star in seconds. Now, I'm not saying you should use that one, but it could. Curiosity is not strategy, not a personality trait. If you're not curious, you will get replaced by someone who is. And that's where I think the challenge is going to be about being left behind. Real estate agents that at least invest in the learning, I think they're the ones that'll be relevant and be able to sell their business. If I was a real estate agent now, been in the business over 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, or 50, I would bring on that next generation real estate agent, and especially the tech savvy, get them licensed, but then help you as not just an assistant, but someone that can do social media, teach them the rules, because then you can have someone that can have your book of business, and you can still pay them for working with your past clients. Those would be some of my takeaways. Anything else for you, Mina, before we end?
No, I think you got it. I think, and I'm processing. I was looking at
While
my
you think about it, I'm
takeaways.
going to say if you take a screenshot of this image, you can throw the QR code into ChatGPT, and then you'll have the link for Amazon. But if you literally just go to Amazon and type in noise to navigation, you can grab the book. If you go to the NAR bookstore, you can also go to the bookstore and you can order noise to navigation. Be the first to buy it from.
Okay, so these would have been like clear tips. Too fast can be chaos, but I would argue that we need those people. Too slow is like a drift, like if you were walking a straight line and somebody was studying and doing the work they need to do and somebody just kind of veered off, and then it's kind of hard to come back, but you just have to figure that out. And just right is like the ability to calibrate with ChatGPT. If you have somebody that you can sit with and play with, find a friend, go on Zoom and say, how are you using it? And I mean, I have my sister, and if you don't have someone, figure out how you can just at least get in there. And remember, ChatGPT is not a therapist. It is not emotional. It'll tell you how great you are, but you have to remember that it is not your friend. Humans are. You are the human, and you are the pilot. You navigate what's happening. ChatGPT is the co-pilot. I love how Microsoft named their platform Copilot, because that's what it is. It is a co-pilot.
So we're going to keep coming back. We're probably going to also go live on TikTok and maybe Instagram. So keep watching. If you're not signed up for any of my email list, I know it is in my link tree over on Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
I see that, Mina. I see you holding up the book. So I'll throw this up at the end just in case people come back and watch the replay. All right. See you later.